What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Bold Miniseries. As you guys know by now, the Bold Miniseries is a space where Come Home brings men together to talk about the ups and downs of the hair loss journey, as well as talk about the intricacies of manhood. Every time we have it, it's always going to be real talk by real men. And today, I have a special guest, my roommate for 2 years now, Ezana Tadese. I've been living with Ez for the last 2 years here at the Raw School of Business. He's been a really good friend of mine who we've actually talked a lot about different things when it comes to manhood, specifically therapy and specifically seeking to understand emotional intelligence and things of that nature. So I'm really glad to have Ez joining me today. Ez, kick some game to the people. Tell them a little bit about yourself, bro.
All righty. Well, thanks for having me. Definitely appreciate it. So yeah, name's Ezana. I'm from Jersey. Grew up in Jersey. I'm Ethiopian American. I'm currently at business school to pivot into tech. So got a job offer now. So I'll be going to Microsoft starting in like the summer.
Big bucks.
Starting small. uh, and yeah, I mean, so they're based in Seattle. So at some point, whenever the office opens up, I'll probably be moving out to the West Coast for that as well. Looking forward to it. Like I'm an outdoors guy, so I like to snowboard, like to hike, like to be outdoors. I'm not a homebody at all, so like being in a home is to cook and to sleep. That's pretty much it. Outside of that, I'm trying to be out.
So E actually is like probably one of the best snowboarders that I know. He's definitely been on some crazy snowboarding trips, and the last couple of times I've been out snowboarding, I actually took my first time I went up the little lift. I went with Ez, and yes, they ended up leaving me shortly after. So that is that. Also, I want to point out today, guys, Ez's beard looks irregularly great today. His beard normally looks fine, but today looks irregularly great. So I think he went in extra overtime today for the Baltimore miniseries, and we appreciate that,
man. Happy to talk about all the skincare, hair care regimens.
And also, we'll get to this close to the end. E also makes his own lotion. He's making his own lotion for a long time now, so we'll get into that at some point as well. You said you're from New Jersey, man. When I think about New Jersey, first thing I think about is the New York Giants. Did you grow up a Giants fan? And then also I think about the New Jersey Nets, who are now in Brooklyn. So talk to me how you feel about that, if that affected you at all.
Yeah, so I support the Giants and the Knicks. So okay. when the Nets transferred over, I didn't budge that much. So originally I was born in New York City. So I lived in New York City for a few years. Like I have a connection to New York City. Even where I grew up in New Jersey, it's literally 5 minutes from New York City. So like I was always in New York City. It's kind of like my backyard. That's what I tell people.
Okay. And then when I think about New Jersey, I also think about music a little bit. And the people that come to mind, one is Fetty Wap, and then two, who was your favorite podcast of all time, Joe Budden. So he's a big podcast guy, and he's really into like the Joe Budden podcast and the Drink Champs. So I always hear him listening to that. So talk to me about your about Joe Budden and Fetty Wap in terms of hip hop coming out of Jersey. Am I missing anybody?
Redman's from Jersey. I mean, honestly, I'm more of a just hip hop historian. So so that's why I like Drink Champs and the Joe Budden podcast, because they're always kicking game about like how the music industry was back, during their time and the times before them. So to me, like I love knowing the context of just how, because like obviously we know how music is today, but I was too young to really understand what was hip hop like 20, 30 years ago when I was just, an infant. So I feel like they give objective game on hip hop. So that's, to me, I'm just like soaking up knowledge.
So man, okay. So you talk about your hip hop historian, E. With that being said, like, I need you to give us then the Ezana top 3 rappers of all time. Top 3 rappers, your take.
Top 3. Oh man, I mean,
you can give us top 5 if you like, but I said top 3. But if you need 5 slots, go for it.
Yeah. So Jay-Z, Nas, and Lil Wayne.
Ooh, okay. I thought you were gonna like go with Pac or Big there. That's a pretty boring list. Everybody knows that, but you threw Wayne in there.
Yeah,
Okay.
Lil Wayne's my favorite. Yeah, growing
And what
up.
about these new kids now? There's definitely a new school of rap, trap music, blah, blah, blah. Is there anybody like that's new in the game right now that you're like, yo, yeah, that person has it?
Um, I feel like Lil Baby's hot. He
Mm,
has a dope flow. Um, but I feel like these new artists are just not memorable.
okay.
Like I basically just like for the new music, I'm just in some playlist and I'm just hearing they all sound the same. Lil Baby has more music videos, so I've randomly seen them, but like a lot of the artists just not memorable, or, or they don't have enough visuals for me to like remember how they look. Um, yeah, so I would say I really listen to a lot more older hip hop, R&B. When it comes to new guys, like no one really stands out.
You know what, E? So I'm surprised to hear you say that because we all know your favorite current rapper out right now is Murray. We all know my dog E listens to that saying so many times. So we know that's actually your vibe right now, man.
And he stands out, right? His flow, he's kind of sings and raps. And what he's talking about is just different. So like a lot of the other what I was saying before, like they talk about the same stuff. So like no one's really sticking out. So but yeah, Moray, he sticks out for me.
And shout out to North Carolina. Everybody knows I'm from North Carolina. So Murray, we see you out there in Fayetteville doing your thing, man. The last thing I want to say, E, you mentioned the visuals, but I think there is definitely a lack of visuals from today's artists. But I think that occurred because we saw a swift and a change in the music business. Back in the day, we were glued to the TV, so we watched MTV all the time. We watched 106 and Park all the time. So we watched tons of videos. There went a time when like music videos really stopped being a thing. We stopped caring about it. Now you have it on YouTube a lot. I think the YouTube generation maybe catches some of those videos, but our generation, I don't know if we're the YouTube generation as much. And if we are on YouTube, I think we're looking at podcasts and things of that nature. So I think that's the reason why some of these younger cats didn't really rely on video as much because they're probably a bit more focused on, okay, I just need to put out music to get my streams up. You know what I mean? So not necessarily their fault, but I definitely feel you there.
Yeah,
Uh,
just it's way too easy to put out content.
mm-hmm.
With SoundCloud on the audio side, and then with YouTube, all you need is a phone. Everyone has a cell phone, so like there's just way too much content available for us to consume. So like you have to stick out for me to see your video, and it's just hard.
That's another thing though, E, because back in our day, like even when, say 90s or even 2000s, before it was super easy to put out content, there wasn't that many mainstream rappers. Like, when we were like back in our day, you might have had, the Locks, Jada Kiss, DMX, Hove, Ja Rule, 50, Eminem, Jay-Z, Nas, but there wasn't like you can't name 20 of the rappers that were popping at the time. You got Luda, Wayne, but now because everybody can become an artist so quick, make a song, get it out there. There's so many artists. And to your point, when the field is so saturated, you got to find a way to stand out. But that's easier said than done. You know what I'm saying?
Yep, facts.
All right, so me and E had a kick game. This is my roommate, so we chop it up all the time about all this stuff. So just giving y'all a little insight what we talk about in the apartment. But E, you know why we're here, man. We came here to really talk through your personal journey with hair loss. Obviously now it's super smooth with the bald and the beard, man. You know the vibes. You know the vibes. But we know it wasn't always like that, E. We know at some point, years and years ago, you actually had a head of hair, whether that was, dreads, cornrows, waves, whatever. We know you did have that. So can you take us back, man, to those previous years when you actually were rocking some kind of hair? Tell us what kind of look you were rocking and what your hair meant to you back in those days.
Yeah, so most of the time I had the dark Caesar,
Okay.
so shortcut, and then around when uh probably 2005 when like Dipset was starting to really bubble up. Um, Jim Jones had braids, so I wanted to get braids. And to get to that process of getting braids, your hair start growing out. So I had waves at one point. So I was rocking waves, and then as my hair got bigger, then had curls, had S curls. So I would taper it up, and then eventually it got long enough, so I got cornrows, and that happened around like junior year of high school. So I had braids for maybe like 3.5 years. So like from half of my high school career and beginning of undergrad.
Ooh, what made you want to cut the braids off? Was it just you wanted to switch? Did you feel like it wasn't a style no more? What was that?
Yeah, yeah, I guess you can say it was just styles change. Like it was 3 years. I was just like, I want to do something different. And I was in college too. I was like, I want to seem a little bit more professional. I didn't want to seem like, just some kid with braids. So just wanted
Gotcha,
to level
gotcha.
up.
So you had a couple of different hairstyles. You had the braids, you had the curls, you had the waves, the taper, all that. Can you tell us, was there a specific hairstyle back in those days? Because clearly your favorite hairstyle is the bald now. That's a fact. But before, back in those days, was there one that you look back on and you're like, yo, that was a dope look I had back in that day?
Um, yeah, I mean, I think that the S curls with the had the baby hairs lined up, it was a fresh cut.
Yeah.
Definitely got a lot of attention when I was rocking that. So it was very memorable.
No
Yeah.
doubt, no doubt. If you can find a picture of that, I need you to find that and send it to me so we can, when I throw the edits on this, I can have it pop up and we'll let the people decide if that was one of your best looks.
Okay, I could do that.
All right, bet. So you are in college now. You decided to cut the braids off, and now I'm assuming you're just rocking, the Caesar cut, dark Caesar. At what point did it hit you like, yo, this season isn't gonna last me that much longer? What happened?
Um, Kind of instant. So when I took those braids, when I had cut them, I went to my childhood barber for that cut. When he cut it, and he was like it might. He's like I was like, I don't know how much more time you have, and I was like, what do you mean? He was like, I'm thinking 2 years, 3 years, and I'm like, what are you talking about? And then he like spun me around in the barber chair, put a mirror up, and then he showed me a little like it's lighting up right here, and
Yeah.
I was like, oh shoot.
Where was this? Was this the crown? Was it
Yeah,
hairline?
it's the crown, right in like
Okay.
the back crown area. So he was like, well, he's like, but you have time. Like, it's not noticeable, but it's like, cause he knew me since I was like 12 years old. So like, he's literally he knows my head pretty well, my hair well. Um, so he was like, he was like, just do the S curl. And like, I could taper it so that's like kind of high in the top, and then it'll just fade in, and it'll look fine. You can't really tell since it's like blended.
Yep.
I'm like, all right, so like that's the style that I rock for pretty much until I when it came home.
Yeah. Okay. So your barber gives you this news, and at that time, balding probably had never even crossed your mind. I'm assuming, like you just had braids, so you know what I'm saying, like it
Yeah.
never crossed your mind.
Yeah. I was like in my head, I was just like, how did this happen? I'm asking my dad, like, when did you start balding? He was like, oh, like mid-30s. I'm just like, wait, that's like 10 years from now. Like what's going on? And he was like, it was those braids. He was like, I told you not to get braids. He was like, it's all the, it's tight, it's pulling on your hair. And I didn't, and that what I got looking back, I didn't really take care of my braids well. In terms of like, leaving it, like I was always getting it braided. You're supposed to like let your hair breathe, wash it properly, like, I guess do some moisturizing, all these hair treatment stuff. Like I didn't do that at all. I would just, once I got it out, I'd wash it, shampoo, conditioner, and then get braids again. Um, so yeah, looking back, I realized what caused it or what accelerated that process for me. Yeah.
So your dad was bald. Let's say your dad is also bald.
Yeah. He's
Okay. So growing up, you saw, your father was bald. So when you realize you're losing it, is it like a shock? Are you feeling like, oh, like, yo, what am I gonna do? Or are you like, well, one, obviously your barber said it was early, so you might not be worrying about it that much. But also because you had seen your dad for so long, did you think anything about like balding? Was it like a big deal, or did you like, my dad is bald, or did you not
I
see that in your future yet because it was too early?
No, it was way too early. I was kind of like in disbelief. Like I wasn't believing. I was just like, you know what? I just got my hair cut, braids. Like it's probably gonna regrow. It's probably just hair damage. That's what it's hair damage. It takes, hair will take time. Those hair follicles will come back. So yeah, I just kept rocking the curls with the taper for like 6 more years. Like yeah, I wasn't letting go. I wasn't letting go.
So let me ask you this, there, E. You keep rocking. You got the smooth curve with the type of look, but you didn't know something was happening. So after that day, would you continue to peep or and try to like see how it was progressing, or did you not worry about it until it got worse, and then you were like, oh my God, something is really happening.
Yeah, it probably took like a year or two, like near like graduating undergrad, so like my senior year, when close friends or family, they would be the ones to point out, be like, are you? My mom, like hers was the worst. It would be like, do you shampoo your hair like every day, or like he's like maybe you should cut back on it, you know? And I'm just like why are you asking? She's like, it affects your hair, and I'm just like, wait, what's wrong? In my head, I'm just like, I never really thought about it, but my mom, close friends were the ones, they would like touch the little crown part. They would like touch it, you know, like how you doing, easy? They're like, oh, that's how you doing, you know. So like I knew it was there, but I didn't think it was that bad.
Mhm.
Um, so it took me a while for me to come to realization, like, yo, it was time to. When I started becoming like self-conscious, I would become like an expert of like in like a crowd of if I'm in a group of people, I'd be like an expert of like positioning myself so that like you only see the front of me, you know, and like the back of the crown would be like in the back. Um, or like I like those years when I really got close to like when I was coming home, I really wasn't taking no pictures at all. You know,
Whoa.
some people would be like kind of do like a catfish pic with like with the angle. I'd be like, no, I'm not even gonna take a picture at all. Um, yeah, so like I was doing everything to avoid just seeing it really, because like when I would see like pictures like at a basketball game or like random like people take pictures like in a group or whatever, and I'll look through the collage and I'll see myself and I'll just see the bottom. I'm just like, oh, I'll just be like, it's like cringeworthy. I'm just like, oh man, like they got me.
So that's interesting because one, let me ask you this: when you would at that time when you looked in the mirror, could you see it? Because a lot of times when you're at the crown, if your hairline is fine, even looking in the mirror, you can't see it. And even friends, especially if it's women, whoever that are shorter than you, because the crown, they couldn't see either unless you're sitting down and they're walking by, or they're like, or you kind of like bend your head over. So like, were you able to see it when you looked in the mirror?
No, I wasn't. And I think that's another reason why I was in kind of disbelief, because I really didn't, I was never a person that was always looking at my hair. I was never like that type of guy. So like when it was really when I would go home, my parents had this like double mirror
Mhm.
that like folds out. So whenever I would like shape up myself, that's when I would see it.
Mhm.
And because it was a very hard position. Like I can't just you can't see it like in a
Yeah.
regular mirror. You need a double mirror so you can see the back of your head. And that's the only way I can see that area where it's lightening up. Because this was still here, the front was still there, like everything else was strong, but that back was lining up, and it would be like maybe every 6 months or 7 months, I would notice it a little bit more lighter than the previous 6 months. So it was a slow, like gradual, like hair loss, and it was mainly just in that area.
Yeah, and you mentioned earlier that you would look at those pictures and it would be cringeworthy, man. And we can definitely bond off of that because I know you know the story, but I noticed mine. I was looking through a Facebook album and I went to a New Year's Eve pregame. Somebody was taking pictures at the event. I wasn't even thinking nothing of it. At the time, I didn't even know I was balding. And I had mine was grown out a little bit high too, had some like curls. So my hair was grown out a little bit more. So the guy was taking pictures in the party, takes a picture from a high angle and like captures like the crown of my head, right? And so I'm looking at the pic, going through the album, looking at the pics, like, yo, this was a lit pregame. And I see this picture of this guy. I mean, head looks horrible. Like, I mean, extremely light all the way right here, like dark everywhere. But I mean, it was a bad contrast. And I'm like, yo, somebody's head looks crazy. And I end up looking at the person's blazer and I'm like, wait, yo, that's me. And I was shook, bro. Like I remember hitting my guy up and me like, yo, you gotta take this pick down. You gotta take this pick down. Like I can't have this pick on the net. So yeah, I know what you mean in terms of being cringeworthy and then like having to like avoid certain angles when you taking pics, that kind of thing. Man, it was not fun to say the least, bro.
Yeah. Or if there's a group pic, it's like I'll stand in the back. Like I'll be in the back of everyone. Or like when you're in the party, like at the bar, you're just always like,
Yep.
positioned
Yep.
in a certain way so that so people don't really see that.
So
So
let me ask you this then. At what did there become a point where you were like, okay, cool, because you're already kind of trying to like dodge it. So will you start wearing hats at some point to kind of like cover up?
oh
Or
yeah, I was hat king. I was wearing hats. And it was like I couldn't take it off because I had S curls, right? So like if I take the hair, because my hair is also thin and kind of soft, so like if once I take the hat off, it becomes like frizzy and stuff. And if you've seen like Tory Lanez recently, like with his messed up, I've been having it was like that.
Yeah.
And it was just you would see the it would be frizzy and you would see like the bald spot. So it was like the worst combination. So like if I had the hat on, it stayed on. I didn't go to if the club didn't allow hats, like oh can't go. That's it. You know?
So, hey, how many times E did you show up to a door, at the club, and the bouncer would be like, "No hats," and you was like, "Whoop!" All right, then how many times did that happen?
Uh so I was living in Indiana at that time, so which is very casual. So like it didn't happen too often
Okay.
when I was there. And there was like tons of like, kickbacks that I would do. And I used to host a lot, like my pool parties and like barbecues at my place, just so that I'm like, well, one, for the fellowship, but also I can wear a hat. I could also, I'm at home. It's the same vibe, you
Yeah.
know. So
I like that. That's some good strategy right there.
yeah,
So, all right. So you're rocking the hats now. You're rocking the S curl. It's definitely getting lighter. Like you said, you're starting to notice that every 6 to 7 months, you're peeping game. Like, yo,
yeah.
this seems like it's getting worse. What are your next steps, man? Are you thinking about like how you can fight this now? Are you thinking Rogaine? Are you thinking, anything, any kind of hair loss treatment? Is that going through your mind?
Yeah, so I started using like more like shampoos and conditioners that said like thick something or moisturizer, like those buzzwords that just basically are saying your hair will grow thicker.
Mhm.
So I felt like those shampoos, like sometimes they worked, sometimes they didn't. I wasn't brand loyal. I was trying everything, like different. I'll get like Pantene one day, like all the different brands. Like I wasn't brand loyal. I was just trying to find something.
Yep.
Um, and I did look up like I never tried like I didn't look into Rogaine because I was looking at the cost at the
Mhm.
time. I was like I didn't have money to afford a monthly thing. Um, and then I did look up like the cost of surgery, like hair transplant surgery.
Yeah.
And I was looking at those numbers. I was like, can't afford that either, you know.
So, hey,
um,
I'm glad you brought that up because this is something that many guys, we haven't really spoke on this mini series yet about the surgery aspect. So I want to dive into that because me too. I definitely looked, I think I would see those Bosley commercials. I feel like they somehow knew a bald dude was watching because I swear they be coming on all the time. So I'm like, yo, they know I'm watching right now. So I Pete Bosley. I definitely gave him a call before. I definitely did my research. And it is very, very expensive to get some of those surgeries. And depending on where you go, it could be a bit cheaper. But in general, you're talking about thousands of dollars. And what many men don't realize is even if you do get that surgery, you have to go back and kind of like get a refresh basically a couple years later. Like we talked about, you mentioned Tory Lanez earlier. Everybody knows Tory he was bald, he bounced back, he ran away from home, as we would say.
yeah.
Uh, but now if you see him, he's down bad again. You know what I'm saying? Because none of those things are permanent fixes.
Yeah, you actually brought like I'm like recalling I actually did a consultation. I actually
Okay.
went to a hair consult like a local one,
Yeah.
and he told me about it was at that point. At that point, I was working, so I had the money I was able to afford it. And what he said, he was like, it was to me was what prevented me really was the recovery process because like
Mm.
I wanted to do it. I was like, if I was going to do it, I was like, I want it to be seamless. I want to be in the doctor's office one day and then back to work the next day. He was like, "Well, you're gonna we have to shave that area, so you're gonna have a bald spot. And so there's gonna be some scarring. Um, it takes about like a week, like depending on how fast your skin heals, it might take up to 2 weeks." And he was just basically saying like all these disclaimers, and I'm just like, so it's not gonna be like an overnight thing. And I'm not thinking about my PTO. What excuse I'm gonna give my boss?
Because
And then I was like,
you can't tell your boss like, yo, I'm going to get my boss by field.
yeah, and I was like, I don't want to tell my parents either. My family. It's like I can't even like vacation at my parents' crib. So like I have to like. So it was financially, logistically. There was just so many barriers to doing that, and eventually, so yeah, like I ended up like just not deaded it after that consultation. But also like with the research, I didn't really see a lot of Black people doing it. I was like,
Yeah.
and then reviews, they're just like, for Black, not even just Black, but like basically outside of like white Caucasian men, there isn't a lot of like good doctors out there. You have, there's like specialty people that are in different countries. And I was like, how do I even know if my insurance is going to cover something, like if something bad happens out there, like what's going to, so it was just way too many barriers.
Yeah. So that, I mean, you're bringing up some really good stuff here, E. One, I do remember my time also looking at some of these opportunities in surgeries. And I do also recall like looking at reviews and feeling like, yo, some of these reviews feel like extra salesy. Like they're like, and I'm like, yo, is this for real? Are these results real? And then two, with a lot of those sites, you might Google Bosley reviews. The first hit might be like actually Bosley's webpage where they have these really good reviews. Couple notches down on Google, you got somebody killing them. Don't ever do it. Like, so it's like, yo, it ruined my head. So I'm like, yo, reading some of these, and you think about going under the knife. All it took for me was to see one review that was like, I got scars all over my head. Don't try it. I'm like, yo, I don't know. It already made me nervous, man. So to a lot of people who are going to go through that, if you're watching now and you are, you're still fighting that good fight, you haven't came home yet, and you're going to think about going under that knife, man. And I will definitely say, over the years since me and E has come home, I'm sure the technology has gotten better. The procedures have probably gotten better, but it's still costly and it's still not guaranteed to work. So keep that in mind, because again, we've seen guys like Tory Lane who's came back and now is even more down bad than he was to begin with. So definitely stay in the know and do your research as you're trying to figure out if some of these surgical procedures are going to be, actually be for you. So, yeah. E, you went through that whole stage. You actually went in and got the consultation, and you realized, what, this ain't for me, because I can't tell my mom, I can't tell my manager, yo, I'm missing 2 weeks to fill my bald spot. So now, what's your next play?
By that time, I was actually in a relationship,
Okay.
and she had mentioned maybe once or twice, but definitely at least once, very gently, she said like, I think you would look good in a ball with a ball cut. You grow out your beard a little, because at that time I had a beard, but it was like a lot thinner,
Yep.
or a lot like a lot lower, for work purposes. And and I was like, and that was enough for me. I was like, oh, well, one girl thinks it is enough.
Weird.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's like that's all I needed. It was like one encouragement, really. Um, and that at least got the idea in my head. I was like, all right. So, and then I started thinking like, when do I do this?
Yep.
Um, so I was just thinking like what are some like landmark times in my life that I want to do it? Like it was like late 2016. So I was like, New Year's is around the corner. I was like, maybe I should do it then. Um, but for whatever reason, I didn't do it. And I was like, all right, my birthday's in May.
Mm.
And I was like, that's what I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it my birthday. So I waited, like 5 months or 6 months, no, in my head, knowing like, all right, May. And I was going home. So I would see my childhood barber again, and I had a wedding. I had like a lot of like family friend stuff that weekend. So like I was really good. When I got that cut, everyone's gonna see me. Everyone that's close to me is
Yeah,
gonna
dude,
see it.
you're bold with it then, because you're like, yeah,
Yeah,
I'm gonna do it right before a lot of these big events. So I'm just gonna be out here with it.
yeah, yeah.
Nice.
So um, even when I went home, I didn't even tell my parents I was gonna do it. I just told them I'm going to the barber. I'll be back.
So E, at this time, you still rocking the S curl, or is it a
Yeah,
low?
still S curl. Yeah, that's curl.
Okay.
Low fade S curl. Yeah.
So literally, like you walk to your parents' crib, they see you, and you're like, yo, next time y'all see, you're not telling them, but next time they see you, you're home.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So even my barber was surprised. He was like, "Really?" He was like, "You sure?" I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "I'm ready." I was like, "I've been waiting like for five or 6 months." He was like, "All right." He's like, after we're done, it was like a kumbaya moment. He's like, "Yo, I've literally seen you in so many different hairstyles, and it was just like coming full circle."
Mm-hmm. So your barber didn't try to convince you not to come home quite yet, because I hear a lot of stories about guys whose barbers like, yo, no, you got more time, try to, because obviously like you're part of their like revenue stream, right? So
Yeah.
part of them, although you had moved away, so maybe he's not counting you as his regular customer anymore. But I know a lot of barbers who would try to discourage guys from coming home because they want that paper.
I never actually thought about it that way, but yeah, like I wasn't living home, so like I wasn't a regular customer. But that's an interesting point. Um, but I don't know. I mean, I think I still go to, I mean, not now, not during the pandemic, but like when I was still working and stuff, like I would still go to the barber just to get a lineup. So like
Okay, yeah.
I would still go to the barber. Even though I do it myself now, but like I like to sometimes just go just to do it.
Okay, bet. So for you, you got your barber. But let's talk about you. You get in a chair and you're like, he's like, yo, oh, so the regular, and you're like, nah, you're like,
Yeah.
nah,
Because he always says the same. He's like, well, what do you want to get? He's like, well, no, it's like, what are we doing today?
yep.
And I was like, cut it all off. He was like, oh, you want to go low? And I was like bald low. He was like, oh, okay.
Okay. Wow. So your barber gets you right the first time. Um, are you sit in the chair and he gives you the mirror and you're like, wow? Tell me about that when you first see it.
Yeah, so like even when I normally get a haircut, I don't look in the mirror because I
Mm,
want to be surprised with whatever comes out, and just get the full effect. So I follow the same protocol. Didn't look in the mirror as he's cutting me. If he faces me toward the mirror, I close my eyes. I just wait, and I was happy with it. Like he like lined me up. I was like I was looking, I was kind of quiet at first. I was like just looking at it's a whole new person,
yeah.
But I liked it, and he complimented me. The other barbers that they knew me since I was a kid too. They're like, "Easy, that's you. Like you're grown, you're grown." So like I got a lot of love, instantly in the
Yeah.
barber shop, which definitely helped, build my confidence as well.
Yeah. So I keep talking to guys about that, man. I think a lot of men that come home, some of them try to hide it. I think when I came home, like I got out the chair, I put my hat right back on. I wasn't ready. But I know some guys like you, your story. I know other guys who, as soon as they came home, they either put it on Instagram immediately or they were proud of it. They stepped out, let people kind of react off gate. So to hear your story and feel like the barbers like immediately showed you love. I keep telling people that we like to call that here at Come Home. That's the housewarming, man. That's the
Mm.
housewarming. You come home and they show you that love. It's like somebody pulling up, knocking on your door, giving you that fruit cake. Welcome to the neighborhood. They show you some dope love. And I think that's important for many guys to make that transition with confidence when you get in that positive affirmation. So, I mean, you got to shout out to your barbers and your girlfriend, obviously, at the time for telling you, like, hey, you might look fine. Because I think all of that allowed you to really embrace that look immediately.
Yeah, because as even though my mom and family would kind of like, hey, like I see what's going on, they would never say cut it. They would never encourage me to do it. They're just like letting me know, like, hey, we see it. Like we see it going bald, but they wouldn't give no solutions. Um, so yeah, I mean, and I appreciate the barbers giving me, encouragement and feedback because like that's their expertise. They know style. So like to me, like that's like the epitome. Like if they think if I look good, boom, like that's all the confidence I really need. And like I said, I had a wedding, I had another like it was my birthday weekend as well. So
Okay.
like birthday weekend, I was gonna be like this rooftop thing in New York. I had the wedding. So I was like, I know it's gonna take a lot of pictures. So I was like, it's coming out.
Yo, that's what's up. So E, you leave the shop now. You have a crazy weekend ahead of you, and you're already confident at this point. It sounds like Barbara showed you love. You're pretty confident. You walk into the crib. Tell me about the reaction from your parents.
Oh, they were so surprised. My dad was like, wait, what? My mom was like, I like it. I like it. They're just touching my head, touching my head. Mind you, my dad is bald. So it's not like they've never seen a bald head before, but it's their oldest, I'm the oldest son. So yeah, they were they were shocked because I didn't tell them. So they're just like, wait, you said you're just going to get a haircut, you know? But yeah, like they were super supportive. And yeah, obviously very shocked as well. So
And the rest of the weekend, how the rest of the weekend go? You're hitting all the wedding, birthday activities, rooftop bar.
oh, receiving love like
What's
everywhere I go. So yeah, it was like to me, like that was like one of my most memorable weekends ever. Like it was just like filled with so much support
yep.
from friends. I posted a picture on Instagram and I was home. So even all my friends from Indiana were hitting me up, texting me, calling me, FaceTiming me. You're like, yo, East, we love, we love, we love it. So it was like just an awesome weekend.
That's
Um,
amazing.
yeah.
Because because a lot of guys will go through so much leading up to that. Like a lot of, the anxiety, the embarrassment, trying to hide it, this and that. But then to actually come home and then to receive that kind of love, I mean, you really can't ask for more, bro. So that's super dope. So you're officially home now. You're rocking it. Everybody's showing you all the love. So you're killing it now. What about your maintenance routine now? Because obviously, you know, this is now you have a whole new look. So you can't maintain it the same way. Maybe you're gonna still go to the barber shop, but my take on it being when I came home, it's like, yo, I'm not gonna pay the barber $25 to give me a bald head. I'm like, it takes no skill. So I immediately knew I was going to do it by myself. Did you keep going to the barber for a while? Did you say, okay, what's my next step? How am I going to do this myself right after?
No, so I mean, like that same day when I went bald, I asked him. I said, like, how do I like maintain this? He was like, well, I use these clippers. I mean, these electric razor. So I was like, okay, so electric razor, like, because I didn't want to use the blade. Like, it seemed like a lot of work. And it was kind of messy. And like, if I travel, you got to bring the gel, the shaving cream, plus I was like, yeah, let me use that. You can charge it up. And he was like, yeah, you can put a pre. He was telling me different products. He's like, you can do a pre shave, like rub it on, so it's easier to like to shave. And then afterward, you can put like a moisturizer. So yeah, I pretty much like he told me what to do. He gave me his advice, and I also went on YouTube and just started like researching stuff, to learn like how to maintain like like what are the good electric razors. You know, I wanted one that's portable because the one that he had a cord, and I was like I know that brand was a really good brand, so I was like maybe there's a cordless one. Um, yeah, so like to me, I just was yeah. I think YouTube is what helped me. Yeah, because
So
yeah, besides that, I only had one like data point, was just my barber. Outside of that, I had no one else.
mm, so when you go get your stuff based on your barber, based on your YouTube reviews, etc. What are some of the things that you noticed, bro? What surprised you in terms of the maintenance for your new look and your bald look? Did anything surprise you as you got used to like having a shave, having to maintain the bald now? What were your learnings there?
I had to be a lot more attentive to detail,
Mm,
because the first time I like when I got the clippers, I started doing it. I realized like, oh, I still see hair. And I have to like go over it, and it was just it's a lot more detail work. I was doing I Even now I still do it every 2 days, so it's
mhm,
something that I do pretty frequently. It's made me more attentive to my face,
mhm,
in my head. Like I wasn't like I never really looked in the mirror that much.
mhm,
So this now I look in the mirror a lot. You know, I'm always looking to see, oh, did I get the especially in the back, because I can't see it. So like I'm always shaving extra, putting more time in there just to make sure that it's a even and clean shave all around. So yeah, it's definitely made me more like health conscious, made me think about my face, my skin. Yeah, so it's definitely made me more aware of just like my skin and head.
nice, nice, nice. And one thing I have to mention about E right now, man, is he told you just now that he shaves like every 2 days. And again, I've been living with this guy for 2 years, and I've literally never caught him lacking when it comes to having a fresh ball. I've never caught him lacking. And with that being said, one of our favorite things to do on the Ball to Ball series is what we call the ball check. E. And the ball check is the opportunity for guys like you to really show off that smooth, clean ball. So, E, I know you probably did it today or yesterday. You do it every other day. Show us what you're working with. Show us. Let's check out the ball for a second, man.
Oh, got you right
Yeah,
here.
oh yes. Look at that thing. She clean, boy. He don't play. He does not play, man. Oh, for sure, for sure. So yeah, we got to do the ball check every episode because we got to make sure guys aren't going to come on a mini series without having the clean ball. So I knew you were going to come through because again, I've never caught you lacking. But there y'all go, man. Ball check is done right there, complete. Easy has the super smooth, very fresh cut today.
Yeah. And
So
I don't know if you coined that word, but like you said a clean bald. Like I don't say that normally. I just say I got a clean head or like a shaven head. But like I think that's like I don't know if that's a new thing, but I've never heard that before.
well, I just like to make up words all the time, E. So hopefully at some point, clean ball will be the way people are talking about it, man. So We're gonna go into next, what we like to call the lightning round. All right, the lightning round. I'm gonna ask you a few questions, and I want you to give me the first answer that kind of just comes to your head. All right. All right. So the first question we have here, clearly you got the clean ball. Clearly you got the nice beard as well. Can you tell me what is your go-to grooming product? The one product you're like, yo, I gotta have this product.
Um, I have like this electric razor. Uh, it's portable. Um, it's actually meant for like your beard, so I'll use that for my head as well. Just to get like a closer to like the days that I do lack, which doesn't happen that much. I'll use that to like shorten the stubble a little bit, and then I'll go with the razor. It's super sharp, which I like. Good for detailing. That and then like my body butter. I feel like that moisturizing. I have dry skin, so like I need a good moisturizer for head and face. So those are like whenever I travel, like those things are always with me.
Yeah, let's get into your body butter for a second, E. So as long as I know E, he's been making his own lotion, so doesn't support any of the big giant companies. He's his own entrepreneur creating his own body butter that may be becoming the market soon. So you guys keep a lookout on that. Tell us more about the body butter and how you decided to get into that.
Yeah, I mean the real reason is like when I started, um, going bald, and I started looking at those shampoos and the conditioners to like make my hair thicker. Um, just looking, I started learning about like the different chemicals, the sulfates, those harsh chemicals that. So I pretty much learned like, hey, these are the things that were negatively affecting my hair. So I was like, they also have those in body soaps. They also put those. They also have harsh. They have like fragrances too, right? Perfumes, extracts that they put in lotions. And when you look at the back of a lotion, like on the ingredient list, like a lot of times they have fragrances, they have different perfumes. They also call them different things. So like I even have like a list in my notepad um, of like chemicals that are like alternative names to perfume, fragrances, things like that. Because like those irritate my skin when I didn't. Well, they like really dry. They super like dried out, like really dried out. So I just wanted to avoid those, and a lot of lotions, the ones that I realized. So like I would start buying like the sensitive skin ones,
Mm-hmm.
and there's like dry skin, sensitive skin, but they're like super expensive. Like the moisturizer that I have now, like it's $15 for like I don't know, like this size. And
Mm-hmm.
I have that, but I use my body butter more for like everyday use, and I'll use that when I went like more like in the winter time when it's really cold out. So it was just a financial. I was like, one, I educated myself to a point where I was like, all right, I know what not to put on my body. I was like, the dry skin, the sensitive skin lotions. I'm like, well, what are the core ingredients that they're using? I'm seeing like shea butter or coconut oil. I was like, all right, well, I can buy those things, and just make my own body butter and put in the ingredients that are, so I'll put like turmeric in it for hyperpigmentation. So like I started learning about different stuff, especially like this past year. So I mean, I've been doing that for like 4 or 5 years. I've used the same body butter for 4 or 5 years, and then my family, close friends, like they're like, easy, like your skin's like looking a lot better. My mom is very good at knowing when my skin is like acting up with dry skin and not. And she was just like really complimenting me, because she's gonna tell me the truth. So yeah, and when I was like, the only thing that's changed is I started using my own body butter. She's like, give me some, So like every like Christmas and birthday, like I'll give her a small batch.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and like that's really what made me started doing the whole body butter, is just learning about these harsh ingredients that these big, pharmaceutical companies are putting in, or CPG companies are putting into their products. So I just wanted to avoid that.
So E, I know that you spent some time thinking about maybe putting the body butter on the market, something like that. Is there an update? Is there a brand name? Are you still thinking about it? Will the people be able to touch the body butter at some point?
I mean, the product is ready. I just haven't put money into like bottling it up. I mean, and with like being in business school, I was like, when do I have time to start bottling up stuff, taking orders? Because I remember I posted it once or twice on Instagram, and I got a lot of people like, "Yo, I want a sample, I want a sample, I want a sample." Um, People offering to pay, and I was just like I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to like to start like shipping. And So from the product is ready. Just I think just the infrastructure needs to be built out in terms of manufacturing it, which requires money, and in business school money is short. So I think
Money we're playing with these days.
yeah. So I think once I start working and stuff, like I'll probably get more serious into it. But right now, like the product, I can do it for like a really small batch order, but to reach the masses or at least hundreds of people, yeah, I have to do it by hand, and I'm like, I don't have the time right now to do that. So I don't
All
want
right.
to promote anything and not be able to fulfill those orders.
Y'all heard it here first. Easy is saying not quite right now, but once that that Microsoft bucks start coming in, then we can potentially expect Easy's body butter to hit the market. So we're gonna hold you to that. Y'all make sure y'all hold my boy Easy to that too. So our next question here, E. Next question. Ball guys know obviously that really our only way of switching our hairstyle up is by wearing some kind of hat. We don't have the option to go from a fade to a mohawk, grow it out. We don't have any options. So our variety is really just throwing on different hats. Can you tell me what your favorite or go-to hat is? What's your favorite hat?
Beanies. Beanies. Before I went bald, I didn't wear beanies because if I took off the beanie, my hair would be all messed up, and then the bald spot is gonna be out there. So I really didn't wear beanies. So even wintertime, so like when I would do snowboarding and I have to wear a beanie or wear a helmet, I didn't take it off. Like I would be keeping it on. During those dark times.
The dark ages.
Yeah, so like now it's like I'm living I'm like it's like a new experience to me now. So and I'm also my head is cold a lot. So like we lose so much heat through our head. So I'm always wearing a hoodie, always wearing a beanie, always wearing a hat, just to keep myself like warm in the
Yeah.
house. Even right now, like I'm cold.
Okay, so this is good. He's on something else right now that we haven't talked about really on any other episode. Is when you see a bald man wearing a hat, a lot of the times it's not like he's wearing it for like style all the times. A lot of it's functionality. You know what I'm saying? Like people would know me for wearing this red toboggan all the time. And it wasn't always because it went great with some of my outfits, but literally my head was always cold. And then once you get used to wearing a beanie all the time, you get used to having a warm head. So right now, times like this, I'm like, I could throw a beanie on right now and I feel warmer, I feel more toasty. So like E is up to something, speaking about how like a lot of these hats, there's a style component to it, but there's definitely a functionality component too that a lot of bald men definitely use these for.
Yeah, I'm actually like I don't want to wear hats because like to me wearing hats reminds me of the times where I had to wear it to cover the bald spot. Now I'm like I want to show my bald head, so like I don't want to wear hats. So like I love spring, summertime where it's a lot warmer outside. Wintertime I'm hoodied up, scully beanies, all that. So it's definitely not for style. It's at this point it's strictly functional utility purposes, just so I don't get sick.
No doubt, no doubt. All right, Ian, man. Next question here, bro. I want to ask you, in your opinion, who would you say are the top 3 most iconic bald men? The list is super long now of the iconic bald men that we've seen in our time. But if you had to name 3 iconic bald men, who would you say are the top 3?
Well, Michael Jordan,
Yep.
Tupac, and The Rock.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Those are all amazing picks. Obviously, Jordan, the GOAT, and probably one of the first guys to really make, that ball look like a commercial success, I would say. He killed it. Pac, I think, is a very interesting pick because Pac was so young. Pac was like 20, 21, rocking the ball, rocking it with his own style, with the bandana, the nose ring. So Pac definitely killed it and brought a different sense of style to it. And then The Rock, we've seen The Rock, his transition from, the ring when he had the like hair, more of a Jerry Curl type feel, now to being just a blockbuster actor in Hollywood and really putting on for the ball guys. So those are some really dope picks.
Yeah, and I feel like The Rock's cool elevated once he went bald. Like he was like before, I would be looking at him just like, bro, just cut it off. Like he had this weird like horn, like I don't know, like a U-shaped hairline. Like it doesn't even look natural, bro. Just cut it up. Once
Nah,
you did,
you're right. And
yeah.
also to your point, E, because The Rock actually won. I don't know if it might have been last year. I think he won the world's most sexiest man, like sexiest man alive by some magazine or whatever. So I say all that to say, folks watching here, like you can't accomplish that goal without coming home, man. Like ball men right now are it. We're kind of in, like I always say, I think we're up 10 in the fourth quarter against everybody else, man. So shout out to The Rock, RP Pac, and for sure, obviously Joey is the GOAT, is the GOAT. Um, Next question here, E. We're gonna get a little bit deeper here. This question, is gonna ask you to to share some advice per se to some people that may be watching today. If you knew there was a guy watching this right now, man, who is still struggling with his hair loss, he may be dealing with some anxiety, embarrassment. He may be, looking at Bosley commercials, trying to figure out, what to do. What would be the advice that you would give somebody watching that's in that circumstance?
Advice, I would say think about all of the frustration that you're feeling. Think about all of the just the insecurities that you're having. When you shave your head, all of that goes away. You have nothing to worry about. Shaving your head or being bald or coming home is not a new thing. It's like it's modern. Like bald and beard is a thing. Like that's a look. So like you're in great company. We love to have you. Tons of support. Like we have, Come Home lifestyle brand right here to community to support you. Um, and yeah, like I was like, I can only talk about my experience and like I had a positive one. Just your friends and family already know that you need to go bald. Like they already know. Like I had friends that were cool with me, but like they weren't telling me. Like my close friends, they were making fun of my family, but like all your coworkers, like they know you should go bald. They just not, there's not cool enough or close enough to you to really say it. So just know that when you do go bald, no one's gonna be surprised. They're gonna be like, "Thank you. It's about time." Like that's it. So you're holding yourself back.
Oh man, no, that's good, man. And he's right. Like there's a whole community here that we're building at Come Home to support you through that. We're doing these, mini series right now, the Ball to Bowl, to allow you to hear the different stories, what guys have been through. But obviously, we all came out on top. So if you're watching this right now, take heed to my guys' advice, man. Just come home. And again, as you cut your hair off, you're cutting off all those insecurities, all that anxiety is leaving with you. And you're going to be ready to step out, as a bigger and bolder you. I'm ready to kind of take on the world. So shout out to that advice, E, for sure. Last question here, man. This is going to get a little bit deeper, E, but this is one of my favorite questions that we actually ask on the mini series because it gets deeper into manhood. Obviously, we talk about come home in a couple different ways. We talk about it from a hair loss perspective, like, give it up, just come home. But at the same time, come home, E, as you know, also it's the way we spell the brand is in French and it translates to English to mean like a man or as a man. So for the brand, it's all about convincing men to embrace their natural evolution as a man. So with that being said, E, I want to explore manhood a bit with you. I want you to talk a bit about what does it mean to be a man to you? What does manhood mean to you? Because I think as me and you talk about it as well with our other roommate, we talk about all the time how maybe we grew up the wrong way thinking about manhood. A lot of things that we saw on TV, in music, whatever, in terms of masculinity and manhood might have been the wrong thing. So as we get older and we're kind of embracing ourselves as men, what does that mean to you? Talk a bit about that, bro.
Yeah, I mean, I think of being a man is very simple. It's just like you're the one that's expected to um, protect and provide, right? That could be to family, your significant other, close friends, coworkers. So I just feel like as a man, like that's always my responsibility is to be protector and provider to those who are around me. And to just be an example, obviously, to other young men that are that coming up and just showing them that is what's expected of you, and like that's what you have to live up to.
And and I know we've talked about, seeking therapy these days as a way to really get to to the bottom and the true essence of manhood, or what it is to be a man these days. And we have conversations all the time about like, hey, let's make sure you get to therapy. E has been pushing me to get to my next therapy session over the last, and I'm definitely he's nodding his head because I've been lacking on it. But I'm definitely gonna do it because I think it's important, and it's something that's definitely allowed us to bond over the years, to be vulnerable and have those conversations about, I need therapy because I need to talk through this. I went through this recently, and I need to talk about that. Can you tell me a bit more about, when you think about your childhood or coming up, some of the ways that maybe, television or music taught us to be a man that may not kind of still ring true today, or maybe it wasn't even true back then, and we were just learning it wrong.
Yeah. You mean like what instances?
Yeah.
That's a good question. Um, I think I think it comes to like communication, right? I think from a media like or society standpoint, men are the vocal ones. Men have the last say. Men have um they speak for the household. And I think in real life, if you have a family, so husband and a wife, it's two people, and there should be agreement and alignment between both parties. Um, Whereas I feel like society, it kind of portrayed as whatever the man thinks, that's what's going to happen, and that's what's going to. And I'm like, that's not reality, and I don't think it's healthy as well. For me, like, I want to respect, and I want to hear what my partner's thoughts and ideas are, right? Like, let whatever that it might be better than my idea, or we can do so or meet somewhere in the middle. So I feel like that's where like between society and TV, like I think that's where the big miss is. There's like there should be like the focus should just be like emphasizing the importance of connecting and finding alignment, how important that is. And then the voice is just the voice of two people. And it could be one person saying it, but like that the thoughts and feelings behind those words is there's alignment between them.
Yeah. And what I just got from that, I think you kind of hit home on the point of maybe growing up, or maybe the age-old tale of manhood was about dominance. Like, hey, you need to be you need to be dominant in the household, you need to be dominant at work, you need to be dominant on the field, whatever you're doing. There's this like sense of needing to be, to dominate something. Whereas what you're speaking about now is more of compromising and connecting and understanding and being more open. And I think that's key. I think that's something for sure that I kind of um, have learned very recently about, like, hey, like it's definitely not all about you. Self-interest needs to actually turn into an interest of others as well. But then also realizing that, like, hey, like compromise is actually going to lead us to a better outcome than me trying to drive just what I want, or trying to be dominate a certain scenario. And I hope a lot of other men, as we're getting older, starting to realize some of the ways that maybe we looked at things wrong in the past, and how we can try to kind of fix that, or have solutions to that going forward, man.
Yeah, and I think it all to me like it all comes down to communication, right? So knowing how to communicate your thoughts or get someone who's like not as vocal, getting them to like get more confidence to speak up. And I feel like, even with therapy, like that's really helped me understand like how am I really feeling, and how can I best communicate that? Whether
Mm-hmm.
it's communicating to a manager that they have a problem with, or a coworker, a friend, a partner, like whatever that you have to, like I feel like that's what therapy helps is with the communication, is being able to communicate how you feel, and also like just to be it's also an exercise to be mindful and do your reflections with that therapist, someone who doesn't know you, completely unbiased, right? And they're able to just hear what you're saying and interpret it differently, because a lot of times we live in our head, and it's good to have someone who doesn't know you at all to just interpret it a little differently.
Yeah. So E now is getting into some of the benefits of therapy, and how therapy can improve communication. Um, when I met E, I had a girlfriend at the time. We ended up breaking up, and I went through, a breakup during COVID, kind of, sort of. I mean, it happened before COVID, but COVID hit shortly after. So I ended up by myself, really, dealing with a lot of these emotions, by myself. But having some of the fellas to talk it through, to be like, yo, damn, I'm feeling like this, man. How should I think about it? It's been another one of the reasons that he continues to push me towards therapy, because he's gotten a lot out of therapy, for sure. And for one of your roommates, for you to know one of your roommates is going to therapy regularly, and they're getting a very strong benefit out of it, and then they're pushing you to go to therapy. It's like, okay, yeah, I need to go check this out, because there's something obviously that he's getting from this that he feels like is very valuable. So this is a challenge to everybody else watching this today. Challenge from that he gave to me, now that I'm passing on to you all, is seek therapy. Even if you don't feel like there's something going on, you don't have to only go to therapy when you're feeling depressed or down, anxiety at all. Therapy, again, I think as easy saying, is a practice of communication. Simple put, and everybody can always be a better communicator, and at the very least go there to understand how you're feeling, understand how to communicate those things. And I think if men specifically are able to communicate their feelings in a better way, then maybe we're not dealing with a lot of the aggression that we see men give off in different areas of life, and maybe a lot of this could be more solved in diplomatic ways.
Yeah, and I think.
So go ahead.
I'm saying our lives are just so busy that we don't even like sit down to think like, how are we doing today? Like we're automatically saying, I'm good. Like, how are you? I'm good. How are you? It's like you don't even think, are you good? Like, are you like, why are you good? Do you know what's making you feel good? And if you're unable to answer that, it's like, all right, rethink that question, take a step back. And I feel like that's what therapy makes me realize, like, am I really doing good? Like, if I am, like, what's making me feel good? It's something that I did, something that someone else did to me. That I just wake up on the right side of the bed. Like, I want to be able to communicate why I feel this way, right?
Yeah. And that reminds me of what you said earlier about, kind of being mindful and mindfulness. Because life is so crazy, because life is so fast paced, we don't really ever take the time to slow down and just kind of be in our own heads and, slow things down, experience some quiet, some stillness for a second. And sometimes I meditate, right? Meditation has been a really big thing for me, and a key thing for me to find that stillness sometimes, and to really just sit with my emotions, just kind of sit with myself, to really slow everything down. And that's been a major blessing for me. And I use the Headspace app. So folks who are watching are considering meditation. I'm a big fan of meditation. And I know some of the greatest practitioners in any aspect of life, whether it's business, sports, science, medicine, anything. I know many of them preach meditation as well as a key to be able to stay grounded. So that's another key that we're giving you guys here. Before we wrap this up, man, do you have anything else to say to the folks here kind of watching that joined us on this episode of Ball to Bowl today?
If you have a question or concern, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to be a resource. In terms of being, coming home. It's a great lifestyle. All fellas, like it's great. I have nothing, like, honestly, I feel like my life has only gotten better since I've shaved my head. And just know everyone around you wants you to go bald. Like, they want you to shave it off. You're holding yourself back. So just let go of those. As soon as you shave your head, all those insecurities, they're gone, because why? You removed the thing that's causing you insecurity.
100% facts. 100% facts. If they do want to reach out, how can they find you on IG, man?
Oh, Instagram, it's easy baby, ITSEASY BABY. It's easy baby.
And also, my guy Easy's a world-renowned chef. He actually won most likely to be on Top Chef from a superlative today from our NBA class. So if you're looking for recipes, meals, whatever, check out my guy on IG, because you might can learn something there too. Oh man, this has been another great episode of the Ball to Bowl miniseries. Like I said, every time we do, it's always real talk with real men. And today's been a special episode where I can have my dog Easy tap in with me to share his experience on the Ball to Bowl journey, and also his experience with therapy, manhood, etc. Man. So thank you so much for joining us today, man. I appreciate you 10 times. And dude, I'm sure I'll see you in the kitchen later, bro.
All right, man. Dude, this is really fun.
All right. Till next time, guys. We'll catch y'all later.
All right.